movement after Gandhi, the block one, and it was too late. It was too late in the I think 9:30. So most of the students they had left. So today we will finish within the time limit. Okay. Includes in block two, which is that re-articulate of social movements. So traces such movement. We have already discussed the Bhutan movement on the last class. So we will start total revolution, otherwise known as the Sampurna Kranti, that is unit
No audio, sir. Hello, sir. It is not audible. Okay, students, please wait. I think there is some technical problem. Please wait. All are requested to write your enrollment number, program code in the chat box. Please write your program code and enrollment number with name in the chat box. I think there is some technical problem. So just let me recall the counselor, and he will be joining soon. Please wait.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Are you ready now?
Dear learner, are you listening me? Hello?
No, yeah. Now it's okay. But earlier it
Due
was
to
not
some
audible.
network problem, it was cut off. No, it was cut off due to network problem. So
Oh,
sorry
okay,
for that interruption.
okay,
Okay.
sir. Now you can continue.
So okay. Now I'm repeating the same thing. Just I was giving the total that nutshell about the that unit wise is that topic. Regarding the issue of land reforms, that corruption in the government and bureaucratic system, that need and the overwhelming issue related to the prohibition that have been running the family dominion, and the issue relating to the farmers, the producers of good grains for human survival, have all been existing since ages. They continue to remain unresolved despite the numerous struggles to mitigate them. These issues are re-articulated in today's context. Similarly, the environmental issues, it is also related at today's topic, that the environmental issues, which examine one of the most crucial issues of today's world, ecology and environment. for meeting basic human requirements, the natural resources are being thoroughly exploited and even that injuriously extracted to meet the that greed and not the needs of our population. The governments favorable that tilt towards multinational companies and its efforts to compete in a global economic system have led to the restructuring of our economic policies and priorities, putting the natural environment at an unprecedented risk. So, similarly, the topic includes also the Unit 9 and Unit 10, two important that movement which related to the environmental issues. The Chipko movement, considered one of the first environmental movement in India, and the Unit 10, which examined the issue of displacement due to large dam construction and the social, economic, and ecological that fallouts of such project that is Narmada Bansao Andolon and also the that Tehri Dam, Tehri Dam Andolon. So these are the topics to be taught today. So first you see the total revolution of J.P. Narayan, Jayaprakash Narayan. So what was the importance of this total revolution and how that Jayaprakash Narayan, though it was a that Gandhian followers, but to some extent he was different from others because he was the some extent Martian. So anyway, we have to understand the conceptualization of the that concept of total revolution lie deeply embedded in the Gandhiji teaching to which Jayaprakash Narayan. The total revolution is a further extension of Gandhiji's thought on a socio-economic problem and a technique of a change in the context of contemporary social, economic, and political reality. We are discussing about the non-violent movement after Gandhi. So JP's the theory of total revolution is the matter just after Gandhi. The journey of Jayaprakash Narayan from Marxism to Gandhism that resulted in a total revolution. Unconventionality was most pronounced in the Gandhi's thinking on the social and economic arrangement of the society, giving him a distinctive revolutionary character. କାହିଁକି କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ ହେଉଛି distinctive character ଆମେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ total revolution means that he was not thinking about a particular that change of a society. He wants the all-round change. That means the change in the socio-economic, political, all level. That means, in other words, we can say he was the firm believer of the Sarvodaya. That means the upliftment of all. So, Jayaprakash Narayan total revolution is a grand vision of individual, state, and society. Behind this vision lies an understanding of our entire experience of more than 200 years of that industrial development. It is based upon Gandhiji's non-violent methods of changing society with non-violent techniques. With non-violent techniques, so he wanted what Gandhi had thought that how the change, how the transformation of society will be taken place through the non-violent techniques. Total revolution is an extraordinary process of change in the individual as well as in the society. से केवल चाहूनଥିଲେ ଯେ ସମାଜରେ ଯେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଭିଜୁଆଲର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହେବା ଦରକାର ଏବଂ ସମାଜର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ସମାଜର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହେବା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଜଣେ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତିର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହେବା ଦରକାର ପ୍ରଥମେ ସେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ପ୍ୟୁର ହେବା ଦରକାର so the main objective of this revolution was decentralization of economic and political power and that insistence on non-violent means to achieve good result. ତେଣୁ जो जेपी नारायणଙ୍କର ଏହା ଥିଲା ହେଉଛି ମୁଖ୍ୟ ଉଦ୍ଦେଶ୍ୟ ଯେ ଅର୍ଥନୈତିକ କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ କେମିତି ବିକେନ୍ଦ୍ରୀକରଣ କରାଯିବା ଦରକାର ଅର୍ଥନୀତି ଏବଂ ରାଜନୈତିକ କ୍ଷମତା ଏକ ନନ୍ ଭାୟୋଲେଣ୍ଟ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଆଚିଭ୍ କରାଯିବ ତେଣୁ so he had a dream if the socio-economic and political development will be changed after independence. So his Sampurna Kranti will be achieved. This was the very conception of the Narayan. So concept of total revolution. Concept of total revolution. So देखिवा जे हेलो सर हेलो हेलो प्रभात सर हेलो प्रभात सर
कोंदु हां
सर सुचिस्मिता बोली गोटे पिला से ही वांट्स टू जॉइन किंतु आपण बदे ताको अलाउ करू नाथि सो टाइम एंड अगेन ही मेकिंग कॉल टू मी
को होतरा
से तार सेकंड ईयर पिला से चाहू छी जॉइन करिया पई आपण को लिंक रे बदे ताको आपण हां आसुची दी थर तीन थर आसिलानी आपण टिके एडमिट कर दे
वो तो अलाउ करू समथि के आपको का उधर करिए
अच्छा अच्छा
उन तो बसे जी
हम सेकंड ईयर लिंक ता दियो सेकंड ईयर पिला से सेकंड ईयर लिंक ता दे देले से
नहीं मु तो बसी से कहले म अलाउ करबे से को अलाउ पे मैं आसिले
ना से फोन करथला म तो लिंक ता दे दी
चल करे को आज टू जान करिए
ओके ओके
सुभद्रा पर ताका ना को
सुचिस्मिता okay we'll start that concept of total revolution so generally we mean that that revolution generally we mean revolution have laid emphasis on a structural and institutional transformation so that means I want to that inform you before we know about the total revolution we should also know about the meaning and the concept of revolution. So generally we mean the revolution have laid emphasis on structural and that institutional transformation in the existing social relationship and institutional basis of the society. In a narrow sense, it is especially related to the that change in the economic structure of the society जोटा मार्क्स होची कोथले कार्ल मार्क्स जो कथा गुरुत्व देथिले इट इज अ नैरो सेंस केवल से अर्थनैतिक दिगटा को चाहूतले अर्थनैतिक क्षेत्र रे यदि परिवर्तन हो जाए रिवोल्यूशन माध्यम रे तब से चाहूतले कोन तो क्लास वार दैट इज द नैरो सेंस बट इन ब्रॉड सेंस इट इज नॉट ओनली a change in the property relation that means the economic structure but also in other aspects of social structure तेणु सब स्ट्रक्चर गुडा चेंज यदि हम ताहले सेटो हम कहबा होची रिवोल्यूशन सो टोटल रिवोल्यूशन इज ए फर्दर एक्सटेंशन ऑफ द गांधीयन अप्रोच टू द सोशल चेन अकॉर्डिंग टू गांधी ए पार्शियल चेंज in any one component of social matrix is likely to produce inequality in the society. ସମାଜର କୌଣସି ଗୋଟେ ଦିଗର ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହେଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଅସମାନତା ଦେଖାଯିବ କିମ୍ବା ସମାଜରେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ଷ୍ଟାଟମର ଲୋକ ଅଛନ୍ତି କୌଣସି ଗୋଟେ ସେକ୍ସନକୁ ଯଦି ଆମେ ସ୍ପେଶାଲ ପ୍ରିଭିଲେଜ ଦେଲେ ତାଙ୍କର ଯଦି ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ କଲେ এটা ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ବୈଷମ୍ୟ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିବ ଯାହା ତାଙ୍କ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ତାମାନେ so the society will tends towards a state of constant instability. To ensure this, the social organization maintain a that steady and an all-round that change is needed. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ जो ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନର ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଅଛି ତାପରେ ଯାଇକି ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ସେ ସମାଜଟାକୁ ଆମେ କହିବା କେଉଁ ଗୋଟେ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର୍ମେସନ ହେଇଛି ତେଣୁ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ କଣ କାରଣ ଶିକ୍ଷା ସ୍ୱାସ୍ଥ୍ୟ ଇକୋନୋମିକ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଅଫ ଭ୍ୟୁ ଏବଂ ପଲିଟିକାଲ ରାଇଟ୍ ଏଭ୍ରିଥିଙ୍ଗ ନାଉ ଏ ହେଲା ହଉଛି ଥିଲା ଯେ କନସେପ୍ଟ ଅଫ total revolution and total but what is the idea of Jayaprakash Narayan total revolution the concept of total revolution put forward by Jayaprakash Narayan in the wake of Bihar movement in Patna on the 5th June 1974 in a public meeting at Gandhi Maidan, Bihar, Jayaprakash Narayan declared that a struggle was not going to be limited to securing the demands of the students, including the resignation of the minister and the dissolution of the Bihar Assembly, but would aim at bringing about a total revolution or Sampurna Kranti, which alone could solve the urgent problem of the country and usher in a new society. ତେଣୁ କୌଣସି ସେ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲେ କ'ଣ ଯେ total revolution. So the term total revolution was used by Karl Marx first time, but এই যে total revolution जो conceptଟା ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ ଏଟାକୁ କାଲମାର୍କ ଯେହେତୁ ସିଏ ମାନେ ମାର୍କ୍ସିଷ୍ଟ ଜଣେ ତେଣୁ କାଲମାର୍କଙ୍କ ଠାରୁ ତାଙ୍କ ପୁସ୍ତକରୁ ସେ ହେଉଛି ଏଟାକୁ ଆଡପ୍ଟ କରିଥିଲେ ତେଣୁ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ୱାଜ କମ୍ୟୁନିଷ୍ଟ or Marxism follower used it for India's all round development. ତେଣୁ ସେଇ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାଠାରୁ ଆଣି ସେ ଚାହିଁଲେ କି ଭାରତର କେମିତି ବିକାଶ କରିବେ କେମିତି ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ କରିବେ ତେଣୁ ଟୋଟାଲ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ signifies a radical transformation not merely of our material conditions but also of the moral character of individuals. केवल जे मटेरियल वस्तुवादी परिवर्तन हेला हबनी at the same time the moral character of individual should be changed. So JP justified it that Jayaprakash Narayan justified it that there is hardly only difference between Sarvodaya and total revolution. Very क्वचित difference किंतु सर्वोदय जहाँ गांधी की चिंताधारा total revolution से या से कोई हाथ में जाता है. So if Sarvodaya is treated as a goal, the total revolution is the means. से कोई बात था जे यदि सर्वोदयटा यदि लक्ष्य हुए माने टोटल रिवोल्यूशन टा एक माध्यम जा माध्यम रे जे सर्वोदय गोटा की अचीव करा दे पारे. सो टोटल रिवोल्यूशन इज बेसिक चेंज in all aspects of life what Jayaprakash Narayan has tried to achieve. Hello, am I clear now? So next is किमिति गांधी को छाप किमिति तांको पडिति बा how the non-violent that revolution ଏବଂ କିଭଳି ଭାବେ that non-violent movement after Gandhi जो कथा अछि जो टॉपिक जो सब्जेक्ट ता किभଳି भाबरे अचीव होच करा जायछि ଏବଂ गांधी सहित किभଳି भाबरे से अटैक ए जे फॉलोअर्स ऑफ गांधी Jayaprakash Narayan recognized the necessity of a change in the individual. Jaha Gandhi चाहूँगा, the individual who takes upon him that the individual who takes upon himself the task of changing society. जे माने लोक चाहूला जे मु समाज रे परिवर्तन करी, किंतु तांकर चिंताधारा जे प्रथमे जे दायित्व नहीं जे समाज रे परिवर्तन करे, प्रथमे तार परिवर्तन हवा दरकार, से सेल्फ चेंज हवा दरकार, से ता आत्मा रे परिवर्तन हवा दरकार. Jayprakash Narayan says, a self change, that is to say, those wanting a change must also change themselves before launching any kind of action. कौनसी काम माने परिवर्तन आनिवार कौनसी कार्य जेतबेले से हाथ गुरुची निजे परिवर्तन हवा दरकार. This lies the whole philosophy of Jayprakash total revolution. Okay, the cornerstone of revolution was the changed individual who in a turn worked for a change in the socio-economic structure of the society. His faith in the change of the individual as the precondition for a change in the society was Gandhian. जो कथा गांधी सर्वोदय चिंता करथिले से सही कथा ठीक अछि चिंता करछन्ती तेणु सेहितपై से कहिसन्ती जे सर्वोदय यदि लक्ष्य हुए ताले मोर जो टोटल रिवोल्यूशन धारणाटी निश्चित भाବରେ एक माध्यम होबो टू अचीव द सर्वोदय, दैट इज द अपलिफ्टमेंट ऑफ ऑल. So now the components of a total revolution. The components of a total revolution includes cultural, social, economic and political. I mean just टिके touch करिवा काना एटा एते importance नुहे. The so far as the cultural point of view, that Jayprakash Narayan used to term culture in a very comprehensive sense. That it connotes the individual and a group behavior, but a purely personal or group level cultural revolution invokes a change in the moral values held by the individual or the group. जो group रो जो culture जेतबेले परिवर्तन हुए, of course it has some impact. Similarly, the social and economical, it is also a component of the total revolution. So Jayprakash stated the social in a Marxian sense also includes the economic. In social revolution, therefore, is basically an economic revolution in the Marxist formation. Marx used the term was justified in the European context. In the Indian context, the term social has a distinctive character. So Marx ने व्यवहार कर दी थी, but intercaste during that revolution of dowry system, archaic marriage rules, and regulation almost enter the area of total revolution. But total revolution must go hand in hand with economic revolution. So social जो कथा कोई ये social barriers that the intercaste that are dining, that particularly the abolition of the dowry system, actually marriage system, the rule regulation, almost all that area the total revolution तमें social. एवं सही समय जे इकोनॉमिक तन की कोला कथा बहुत सोशियो इकोनॉमिक जो चेंज होबा होची दरकार. Next, the political that component. In the sphere of a political revolution, Jayprakash Narayan follows Gandhi. राजनीतिक जो परिवर्तन बेले से गांधी का अप्रोच एवं किभली भाबे गांधी का जो एक फॉलोअर भाबे चिंता करते. Gandhi visualized power rising from the grassroots and reaching the top, which remained nothing more than a coordinating body. If a power was shared among different levels of the social structure, starting from the village upward, the danger of that particularly centralization would very well be avoided. So केंद्रीकरण ହେଇକି ରହୁଛି ଯୋଉ କ୍ଷମତା ତାକୁ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଏଭଏଡ୍ କରିହେବ ବିକେନ୍ଦ୍ରୀକରଣ କରାଯିବ ଯଦି ଗ୍ରାସ ରୁଟ୍ ଲେଭେଲ ଭିଲେଜ ଲେଭେଲ କତରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରି ଟପ୍ ଲେଭେଲ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯଦି ପଲିଟିକାଲ ପାୱାରକୁ ଡିସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜ କରାଯାଏ ତାହେଲେ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲାଇଜ ଆଇଡିଆଟାକୁ ଏଭଏଡ୍ କରାଯାଇପାରିବ ସୋ centralization either of a political or of economic was which Gandhi that traded boost. He therefore laid emphasis on decentralization. तामाने centralization में सेटा decentralization करे पड़े. Again. Next. So these are the components of a total revolution of Jayaprakash Narayan. That is cultural, socio-economic, political. So now, what type of action? That means the mode of action on the Jayaprakash Narayan the mode of action. So primarily, he was of opinion that the usual constitutional devices are not adequate. A democratic political system is more likely to degenerate in the interval between two elections, which may necessitate the launching of direct non-violent action. ତେଣୁ ଏ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଆହୁରି ଡିଟେଲ୍ସ ହେଉଛି ବର୍ଣ୍ଣନା କରିଛନ୍ତି ଜଷ୍ଟ ଆମେ ଏତିକି ହେଉଛି ବୁଝିବା ସେଭଳି another action se kouchunde Jayaprakash Narayan suggest the formation of people's committee another action to prathame jo tanga jo ki prakara method of action nebe se kara mane express karchunti total revolution le ebong ditiya thor se kouchunde mor second method hochi that Jayaprakash Narayan suggested the formation of people's committees at the grassroots ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କମିଟି କରାଯିବ Jayaprakash suggested for the people's committee is to resist the injustices and the tyrannies of the state. जो राष्ट्र जो अन्याय जो एकछत्रवाद जो स्वेच्छाचारिता जो बंद करिया ପାଇଁ ହେଲେ ଯେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର जो ଗ୍ରୁପ ତିଆରି କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ କମିଟି କରିବାକୁ ପଡିବ ତେଣୁ that individual or group of the individual ଏ ହେଉଛି ଏମାନେ କ'ଣ କରିପାରିବେ ନା ରେଜିଷ୍ଟ କରିପାରିବେ ପ୍ରତିରୋଧ କରିପାରିବେ ସରକାରଙ୍କର ଅନ୍ୟାୟ ନୀତି ଥାର୍ଡ ଆକ୍ସନ କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଥାର୍ଡଲି ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ ଆଡଭୋକେଟେଡ ଦ କ୍ଲାସ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଗଲ କାହିଁକି ଏଇଠି କ୍ଲାସ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଗଲ କଥା କାହିଁକି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ମୁଁ ଆରମ୍ଭରୁ କହିଛି ଯେ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ ୱାଜ ମାର୍କ୍ସିଷ୍ଟରୁ ଟ୍ରାନ୍ସଫର ହେଲେ କୋଉଠିକି ନା ଯେ ଗାନ୍ଧିଆନ ଫିଲୋସଫି ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ମାର୍କ୍ସିଷ୍ଟ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ରହୁଛି ସେ ତାଙ୍କ ଫିଲୋସଫିରେ ଟିକେ ଟିକେ ସବୁଆଡେ ଯୋଡ଼ି ଚାଲିଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ advocate this caste struggle class struggle according to him the caste and the class largely tend to overlap both sociologically and economically. Gandhi said that non-violence can be used as a weapon to resist every form of injustice and a tyranny in society. ତେଣୁ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ जो ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ହେଉଛି କହୁଥିଲେ କାଷ୍ଟ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରଗଲ କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେ କାଷ୍ଟ ଏବଂ କ୍ଲାସ largely tend to overlap both sociology and economically. Gandhi said that non-violence can be used as a weapon to that non-violence କୁ ଆମେ ୟୁଜ କରିବା କୋଉ ଜାଗାରେ ନା that is injustice and a tyranny in the society. ତେଣୁ ଏଟା ହେଉଛି ତାଙ୍କର ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରକାର action. So on the total revolution the concept of a total revolution of that Jayaprakash Narayan. What do we learn from this particular unit? Jayaprakash Narayan's total revolution That we conclude. Thus, from the above discussion, it can be concluded that Jayaprakash Narayan total revolution is a combination of seven revolutions, that is social, economic, political, cultural, ideological, intellectual, educational and spiritual. even ସାତ ପ୍ରକାର ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ ମାନେ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ପାଇଁ ସେ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି ଟୋଟାଲ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ ହେଉଛି ଗୋଟେ କମ୍ବିନେସନ ଅଫ ଗ୍ରୁପ ଅଫ that aspect. So which is designated as Sampurna Kanti. Sampurna Kanti, SAMPOORNA, Sampurna Kanti. তার মানে যে সম্পূর্ণ পরিবর্তন. So this revolution will always go on and keep on changing both our personal and social lives. It is a permanent revolution and is expected to move on towards a higher and higher goals. It always expected to be totally touching all aspects of life. যে এটি জয়প্রকাশ নারায়ণ ସବୁ କଥାଟାକୁ ଏଠି ଗ୍ରହଣ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ସବୁ ପ୍ରକାର ଯୋଉ ସମାଜରେ ଅର୍ଥନୈତିକ ସାମାଜିକ ଅର୍ଥନୈତିକ ରାଜନୈତିକ ସାଂସ୍କୃତିକ ଯୋଉ ଆଦର୍ଶଗତ ଏବଂ ଯୋଉ ବୁଦ୍ଧିଜୀବୀ ଶିକ୍ଷା ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମିକ ସବୁ କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ଯଦି ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହୁଏ ଆସେ ତାହେଲେ ସେ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ହେବ କ'ଣ ନା ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ ଯାହା ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ଯେ ତାଙ୍କର ସର୍ବୋଦୟ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାରେ କହୁଥିଲେ ତେଣୁ ତାହା ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ ତାଙ୍କର ଯେ ଟୋଟାଲ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନରେ କହିଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ଯେ ଯଦି ସେଇଠି ଟିକେ ଆମେ କହିବା ଯେ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣଙ୍କର ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଟୋଟାଲ ରିଭଲ୍ୟୁସନ of course the JP failed to achieve his revolution and that political parties continued to rule where the people should have stepped in is a different story. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ କମେଣ୍ଟର କହିଛନ୍ତି ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଆଉଟ୍ କରିଛନ୍ତି the reason for this ତାଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଫେଲୁଅରଟା reason for this is that some economic classes and vested interest that dominated society before continue to do so even after the exit of Mr. Gandhi from the political scene. So following her massive electoral defeat in 1977. But perhaps the real reason why ଲୋକନୀତି ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ କାରଣ ପାଇଁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଥିଲା ମାନେ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଗ୍ରୁପର ଯୋଉ ଚକ୍ରାନ୍ତ ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ ସେ ହାରିଗଲେ ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ ବୋଧ ହୁଏ ଏଇ କାରଣ ପାଇଁ ତାଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଲୋକନୀତି as Jayaprakash visualized it could not that substitute that Rajaniti was because Jayaprakash Narayana lokaniti was basically an own workable utopia. ତେଣୁ ତାଙ୍କର ଏଇଟା ଗୋଟେ କାଳ୍ପନିକ ହେଲା ବୋଲି ସେମାନେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେଠି ଟିକେ ରହିଛି ପଲିଟିକ୍ସ ରହିଛି ଯୋଉଥିପାଇଁ ଜୟପ୍ରକାଶ ନାରାୟଣ ହେଉଛି ହାରିଯାଇଥିଲେ. So apart from or that in spite of this criticism, the idea of that Jayaprakash Narayana to that for a completely the total revolution justified for the upliftment of all. He had tried a lot at the individual level and also the societal level. So next we'll start the prohibition movement. So dear learner, you see I am telling just in the nutshell before I step into the unit. The prohibition movement it is related to the that anti-liquor that movement in India. ମଦ ବିରୋଧୀ ଯେ ମହାତ୍ମା ଗାନ୍ଧୀଙ୍କର ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ଏବଂ ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟଟା ତାଙ୍କ ସମୟରେ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଥିଲା ଯେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଲିକର ସେ ସମାଜକୁ ମାନେ ବ୍ୟାଡ୍ କ୍ୟାରେକ୍ଟର ଦଉଛି ବା ଗୋଟେ ମନ୍ଦ ଚରିତ୍ର ଦଉଛି ବା it will that create a bad impact to the moral character of the individual ଏବଂ ସେ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଯେ ବିଶଦ ଭାବରେ ବର୍ଣ୍ଣନା କରାଯାଇଛି। ଗୋଟେ ସାଧାରଣ ଲୋକଟିଏ ତାର ମାନେ ପରିଶ୍ରମ କରିକି ଯାହା ସେ ପଇସା ରୋଜଗାର କରୁଛି, ତେଣୁ ସେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ପୁଣି ସେଇଥିରୁ ସେ ମଦ ପିଇ ଦେଇକି ପଳେଇ ଆସୁଛି, ଯେତେବେଳେ ତାର ଯୋଉ କଷ୍ଟଲବ୍ଧ ଯୋଉ ଅର୍ଥ ଯାହା ପରିବାରଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସେ ଲଗେଇବା କଥା, ସେଠି ତାର ଟୋଟାଲ ନିଜେ ଏବଂ ନିଜ ପରିବାର ଉଭୟ ମଧ୍ୟ ସଫଳ ହେଉଛି। ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ କଥା ସେ ବହୁତ ଆଗରୁ ଜାଣିପାରୁଥିଲେ, ଯୋଉଥିପାଇଁ କି ଯେ ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନ କନସେପ୍ଟଟା କୁ ୟୁଜ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଏବଂ ସରକାରକୁ ଗୋଟେ ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ମେଜର ହେବା ପାଇଁ କହିଥିଲେ, ଏବଂ ଯୋଉଟା କି ଆମର ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟରୀ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ୍ସ ଅଫ ଷ୍ଟେଟ ପଲିସିରେ ବି ମଧ୍ୟ ଗାନ୍ଧିଆନ ପ୍ରିନ୍ସିପଲ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଇନକ୍ଲୁଡ କଲେ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଗାନ୍ଧୀଙ୍କ ଯୋଉ ଆଦର୍ଶ ରହିଛି ଯେ ଏକ୍ସେପ୍ଟ ଦି ମେଡିସିନ, ତେଣୁ ଡ୍ରିଙ୍କସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଡ୍ରଗ୍ସ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରିକ୍ଟଲି ପ୍ରୋହିବିଟ୍ ୟୁଜ କରାଯାଇଛି। କିନ୍ତୁ ସାମ୍ପ୍ରତିକ ଅବସ୍ଥାରେ ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ ଯେ କୋଭିଡ-19 ପ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡେମିକ ସମୟରେ ଆଗର ଯଦି ଖୋଲା ହେଲା, କଣ ଖୋଲା ହେଲା ନା ମଦ ଦୋକାନ ପରମିଶନ ଦିଆହେଲା। ତାପରେ ଆମର ମାଛ ମାଂସ ଦୋକାନ ପଛରୁ ଖୋଲା ହେଲା, ଆଗର ମଦ ଦୋକାନ କରାହେଲା, କାରଣ 50% ଟ୍ୟାକ୍ସ ବଢେଇ ଦେଲେ ତଥାପି ସେଠି ଭିଡ ହେଲା। ତେଣୁ ହୁଏତ ମୋର ଏଠି କହିବାର କଥା, ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ବୋଧେ ବୋକା ଥିଲେ କି କଣ, ସେ ଯୋଉ ଏତେ ରେଭିନ୍ୟୁ ଯୋଉଠି ଆସୁଛି, ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ତାକୁ କାହିଁକି ବିରୋଧ କରିଥିଲେ। ତେଣୁ ସେ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଯେ କହିବା, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟ ହଉଛି ଏଇଆ ଯେ that prohibition movement. So let us start. The prohibition movement that Gandhi that commitment to prohibition was total and derived from his personal experience within India and abroad, and is a deep that reflection about the condition of the Indian masses. ଭାରତୀୟ ଯୋଉ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର, ଭାରତର ଯୋଉ ଜନବହୁଳ ଲୋକମାନେ ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କର ଯାହା ଅବସ୍ଥା, ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ଯୋଉ ଶାସନରୁ, ବ୍ରିଟିଶ ଯୋଉ ଉପନିବେଶଗତ ଶାସନରୁ ଯୋଉ କଷ୍ଟଲବ୍ଧ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନତା ପାଇଲା ପରେ, ସେ ଯା the socio-economic condition of the Indian masses. So he had realized in detail. So there have been that efforts by that advocates of prohibition to push prohibition into the agenda of the mainstream political parties and even to get legislation passed. ସେ ଚାହୁଁଥିଲେ ଯେ ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନଟାକୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯେ ରାଜନୈତିକ ଦଳର ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ଇଲେକ୍ସନ ମ୍ୟାନିଫେଷ୍ଟୋ କରିବେ ଏବଂ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯେ ଏ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ଆଇନ ପାସ୍ ହବ ଯେ କେବଳ ମେଡିସିନ ବ୍ୟତୀତ ବା ଗୋଟେ ସ୍ପେସିଫିକ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସନର, ମେଡିକାଲ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିସନର ଯାହାକୁ ଅଥରାଇଜ କରିବ, ହଁ ୟାର ଦରକାର ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ, ତାହା ପାଇଁ ହଉଛି ଯେ ଆବଶ୍ୟକ, ନହେଲେ ହଉଛି ଆଉ ଯିଏ ତାକୁ ମାନେ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିବେ ତା ପାଇଁ ପନିଶମେଣ୍ଟ হবে। So however, all such efforts were short-lived. In the contemporary that time, in a contemporary time, one of the main concerns of policy makers in India in particular is to maximize revenue from liquor and sell, even at the point of that neglecting the public health concerns of the morality and the morality. ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ସ୍ୱାସ୍ଥ୍ୟ, ମାନସିକ ଅବସ୍ଥା ଏବଂ ତାଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଚାରିତ୍ରଗତ ଏ ସବୁକୁ ଭୃକ୍ଷେପ କରି କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନର ଯୋଉ ସରକାର ମ୍ୟାକ୍ସିମମ୍ ରେଭିନ୍ୟୁ କେମିତି ପାଇବ, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ହଉଛି କଣ କରୁଛି ନା ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ନିକ୍ଷେପ କରୁଛି। ତେଣୁ କାହିଁକି ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ଏତେ ପରିମାଣରେ ହଉଛି ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିଥିଲେ ଗୋଟେ ଲେଜିସ୍ଲେସନ ପାସ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ, the prohibition and the temperance that have had an overlapping history in many countries. Some attempts at a prohibition were made in that ancient China, feudal Japan, the particularly Iceland, Finland, ଅନେକ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରରେ prohibition କରାଯାଇଛି. At one time in the past, that liquor was that defied in India. However, it became less and less respectable due to the influence of Buddhism. Intoxicating liquor were almost given up, except perhaps by the worst stratum of the society. ବହୁତ କମ. Most countries that have introduced prohibition had withdrawn the measure. Kind. ତେଣୁ before that we should understand the meaning of prohibition. The term prohibition refers to the legal prevention of the manufacture, sale, transportation of the alcoholic beverages with the aim of obtaining total abstinence through legal means. The ଆଇନ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଲିକର ମାଦକ ଦ୍ରବ୍ୟର ତାର ତିଆରି, ତାର ବିକ୍ରି, ତାର ପରିବହନ, ଏ ସମସ୍ତକୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏଇ ଦ୍ରବ୍ୟ ଗୁଡ଼ିକୁ ଗୋଟେ ସରକାରୀ ନୀତି ନିୟମ ଲିଗାଲ ଇମ୍ପ୍ଲିକେସନରେ ହଉଛି ବନ୍ଦ କରାଯିବ, ପ୍ରୋହିବିଟ କରାଯିବ। ଏହାର ଅର୍ଥ ହଉଛି ଯେ the term prohibition refers to the legal prevention, ମାନେ ଆଇନଗତ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିକୋଣରୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏଟାକୁ ଯୋଉ ବନ୍ଦ ହଉଛି କରାଯିବ। ତେଣୁ that similarly যেহেতু prohibition and the temperance এটা interchangeably ব্যবহার হচ্ছে, so I want to clarify the meaning that the prohibition as well as the meaning of temperance. Temperance মানে হলা it refers to the goal of promoting that moderation in the consumption of intoxicating liquor, or more often the total abstinence on a voluntary basis. ତାମାନେ ସ୍ୱଇଚ୍ଛାରେ ଜଣେ ହଉଛି ବନ୍ଦ କରିବ ନା, ମୁଁ ମଦ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେନି, ଆଜି ମୁଁ ଗଞ୍ଜେଇ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେନି, ମଦ ଛାଡ଼ିଦେନି, ବା ଯେତେ ମୁଁ ବ୍ରାଉନ ସୁଗାର ଛାଡ଼ିଦେନି। ଅବଶ୍ୟ ବହୁତ ରେୟାର କହୁଛନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଇଟା temperance. In other words, temperance is defined as showing restraint in that eating or drinking, and that especially avoiding alcohol. So an example of temperance is when you refrain from the drinking any alcohol. For example, jone that କୌଣସି intoxication ଅଭ୍ୟସ୍ତ ଥିବ, ସ୍ୱଇଚ୍ଛାରେ ସେ ହଉଛି ସେଟା ଛାଡ଼ିବ, ଏ ହଉଛି temperance. Prohibition and temperance are two terms which is related to the that particularly the anti-liquor movement. So the both the term have its that relevance. So evolution. So କେବେଠାରୁ ହେଲା ଟିକେ ଖାଲି ଆମେ ଜାଣିବା the evolution of anti-liquor movement. The anti-liquor movement in the West nearly 2 centuries old, and most countries that have introduced prohibition had withdrawn in the measure. ତେଣୁ ଆଇନ ତିଆରି କରାହେଇକି ମାନେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ prohibition that liquor ତାକୁ withdraw କରାହେଇଥିଲା। religious the religious revivalism of the first quarter of the 18th century led to a wave of that movement, or that state and local prohibition on the Western countries. One of the landmarks in the internationalization of the movement was the organization of the World Prohibition Conference in London in 1909. 1909 ମସିହାରେ ଏହା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ବହୁତ ଆଗରୁ ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ସବୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିଥିଲେ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏହା ୟୁଏନ୍ଓ ତରଫରୁ ଯେ ୟୁଏନ୍ଓ କନଫରେନ୍ସରେ ଲଣ୍ଡନରେ କ'ଣ କରାହେଲା ଯେ ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ସିଦ୍ଧାନ୍ତ ହେଲା, ଗୋଟେ ଚୁକ୍ତି ହେଲା, ଗୋଟେ ରେଜଲ୍ୟୁସନ ପାସ୍ ହେଲା, and it was instrumental in the formation of the International Prohibition Confederation, embracing the United States, the European countries, and a few other industrialized countries of the world. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ এই যে ইন্ଟକ୍ସିକେସନଟାକୁ ବନ୍ଦ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ରିଜଲ୍ୟୁସନ ହେଲା ୟୁଏନରେ, ତେଣୁ ତାକୁ ଆଗ୍ରହର ସହିତ ଗ୍ରହଣ କରିଥିଲେ ଆମେରିକା ଏବଂ ପ୍ରାୟ ୟୁରୋପିଆନ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିଜ ଏବଂ କିଛି ଯେ ଶିଳ୍ପ ଭିତ୍ତିକ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ବିଶ୍ୱ। So similarly the temperance movement, similarly the temperance movement in India often led to the prohibition of alcohol on various states, as with Manipur. In British India, that many Indian temperance activities agitated for prohibition in the country. Gandhi was a champion. Gandhi was a champion of the temperance movement, and a few foreign rule is an obstacle to national prohibition. When India gained independence in 1947, prohibition was included in the directive principles of that constitution. किंतु जो ब्रिटिश सरकार शासन थिला बोली गांधी चेष्टा करि करनथिले, कारण ब्रिटिश सरकार जानी थिले जे मोटर कि बहे भाबरे रेवेन्यू अछि, तेणु जोथि से साहस करि पारि नथिले। तो prohibition was included in the directive principles of state policy after independence. So India and the government of several states such as Gujarat and others introduced it. तेणु जो ये जो prohibition ताकू किभली भाबरे अन्य स्टेट रे सब माने चेष्टा करा गला, किंतु एठी मु कहिबी जिते बेले एक कथा होची रेकमेंड करा जाउथला जे ए गांधी को दुईटी माने गांधीयन लीडर होती गांधी और कुमार, सो बोथ आर against the illegal. এবং দুই জন গান্ধীয়ান চিন্তাধারারে কিভাবে ভাবে যে প্রহিবিশন টাকু প্রেজেন্ট করছন্তি এবং লোকମାନଙ୍କ जो मास मुवमेंट करिया पे चेष्टा करछन। तेणु ए कथा जे मध्य गांधी एक्सप्रेस करछन ताको चिंताधारा रे किभली भाबरे जे गांधी became a staunch opponent of alcohol because of the bitter episodes associated with alcoholics. In a nutshell, alcohol ruins one physically, morally, intellectually and economically. Gandhi states. गांधी तांकर कहवा कथा कि जदि जने इंटॉक्सिकेशन हुए तार एई भलिया लॉस फिजिकली मन देखु तो मद खाइ साला पर किछि देहर काम करबोनी, किछि मोराली मध्यम किछि से जहा करिवो किछि जानि परिबोनी एवं सब बुद्धि मध्य हजि जीवो एवं ता छडा कम रोजगार करिकि ता दरु 75 भाग मद पी दवा मजूरी ये होछि इकोनॉमिकली लॉस। तेणु गांधी तो बोका नो, सो ही इज थॉट इट सिंसियरली दैट alcohol ruins one physically, morally, intellectually এবং जोति पई से होई उठिचंती जे कोन सो माने once he said if I was appointed a director for 1 hour मते घंटे केवल जो सॉरी डिक्टेटर जदी को दिया जिवो मते उठे निरंकुश शासक जदी को दिया जिवो एकछत्रवाद शासक जदी कर दिया जाए गोटे घंटा पई सारा भारत वर्ष रे the first thing I would do would be to close that without compensation all the liquor stores, destroy all the that toddy pumps. जते मद दुकान जते सब जुआ खटी जगह जते सब इंटॉक्सिकेशन जे अछि सब गुडा भांगे रुचि चोर कर दे। To him, total prohibition is prohibition of a sale of intoxicating drinks and drugs except under medical prescription by a medical practitioner licensed for the purpose and not to be purchasable only at government depots maintained for this purpose. देखो तांको कहया कथा कि प्रोहिबिशन सेते बेले जेकी प्रोहिबिशन हबो सेते बेले समस्त प्रकार जो ड्रिंक्स एवं ड्रग्स जो एवं केवल मेडिकल प्रेस्क्रिप्शन मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर जो मैंने लाइसेंस प्राप्त से मैंने जहाँ को सर्टिफाई करेंगे से मैंने केवल परचेज करेंगे तेणु एवं ताहा केवल सरकारी जो डिपोर होची मिले तेणु तो किभली भाव से आज मद को लिकोर को विरोध करथुले दैट हैज बीन दैट नरेटेड इन दिस दैट concept the prohibition has a pride place in the Gandhian vision of the world. To Gandhi, drink is more a disease than a vice. आमे जा कथा कहते दैट जेंति जे मद जी पिउचंती मद तांकु न पी यदि मद तांकु पी देले तने तने जो माने प्रैक्टिस करछंती से माने हैबिट अछि से माने टिके पी किंतु जदी मद जदी मद को पी देला ताले सरी गला तो परिवार पूरा सेटु नष्ट तो गांधी became a staunch opponent of alcohol because of the bitter that episodes associated with alcoholics in a that what I had told you is the not sell the kibali bhavre se koi chanti mate jodi power diya janta gote dictator re ene kibali bhavre so ye hoti Gandhian thought that anti liquor movement गांधी आइडिया कौन थिला तेणु ये गांधी ये जो आइडिया भितर टिके कहबी जे रिगार्डिंग द रेवेन्यू while recommending legislation in favor of a prohibition he attempts to demolish the arguments against it based on the accrual of revenue. Gandhi attacks the argument connected to the loss of revenue in the following that manner. The revenue from liquor is a form of extremely degrading that taxation. All taxation to be healthy must return tenfold to the taxpayer in the form of necessary services. So कहते जे तमे ए मधुर आणुच काई तमे डिफेंस रो जो बजेट होची ताको टी कमी दिया जो तो डिफेंस रो जो बजेट होची ताको टी जे हम कमी दबा तो आमे सेट होची रेवेन्यू होची पाइ तो एक्साइज मेक्स पीपल पे फॉर देयर ओन करप्शन moral, mental and physical, sabu kshetra, because it falls like a dead weight on those who are least likely to hear it. The loss of revenue is only apparent. Removal of the degrading tax enable the drinker, that is the taxpayer, to earn and spend better. It means a substantial economic gain to the nation. तेणु याद्वारा कौन हम ना विशेष अधिक समाज भूल लुंठित होची तो टैक्स ना रे ए जो करबे तने टैक्स जतल बढ़े देबे लोक रोजगार कर जते रोजगार करबे सेते पीबे तो ये होची गांधीयन आइडिया तेणु टू कॉम्पेंसेट फॉर लॉस ऑफ रेवेन्यू ड्यू टू द प्रोहिबिशन गांधी सजेस्टेड कहउछन ठीक अछि जे माने मधुरु हमें पाइबनी लॉस हे जो तो सो ही सजेस्टेड that exploration of alternative sources of income is also cutting down defense expenditure. When governments talk to the revenue deficit, they are driven by that Venya spirit. The Gandhi observes. According to Gandhi, nothing short of total prohibition can save the people from the drink evil. The policy should begin by preventing any new shop from being licensed. बिना license रे कोड होची दिया no दिया closing some that cause nuisance to the public and license that less should not be available. तेणु ये होची थिला गांधी कर जो आइडिया रिगार्डिंग द एंटी लिकर आई बोलो समाज रे केबी अवस्था होची न कोन काई माने तेणु दिस सेम the like minded leader Kumar, so he has that drawn a blue picture regarding the society, family, and the precarious situation of the particularly those who earning hardly some rupees. That means the weather. Kumarappa was one of the most that articulate exponent of Gandhi ideals on prohibition. He argues that particularly persuasively that prohibition be conceived in India primarily on the interest of the poor. So in this particular area, he wants to express his agony, his feelings, the suffering that suffering experienced by male, the male addicts, by children and other dependents should be a matter of social concern. More so that when the men answer that pittance, ଗୋଟେ person କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ଅଂଶ ସେ ମାନେ ରୋଜଗାର କରୁଛି, hardly sufficient to that meet the basic needs of his family and himself. ଯାହା ସେ ରୋଜଗାର କରୁଛି ଅତି କ୍ୱଚିତ ଚଳିବା ପାଇଁ ତାକୁ ନିୟନ୍ତ୍ରଣ କରୁଛି. Thus, the man's drinking habit leaves his that dependence particularly destitute. Practically destitute. So, considering drink of alcohol is an anti-social habit, the state has to intervene and curb individual freedom. Hence, the state has to legislate against drink and to protect by law the interest of the average citizens and the community. सरकार ये जो स्थिति गरीब लोकों ये जो लिकर प्रति जो आग्रह वंस से इंटॉक्सिकेटेड एडिक्ट हो गला लोक परिवार पिला छुआ किभଳି भाବରେ ହଇରାଣ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ସରକାର ଏ କଥାକୁ ଚିନ୍ତା କରାଯାଉ ଏବଂ ଲିକର ପ୍ରତି ଷ୍ଟ୍ରିକ୍ଟ ପ୍ରୋହିବିସନ୍ କରାଯାଉ ଏବଂ ଲେଜିସ୍ଲେସନ୍ ପାଇଁ ଆଇନ ତିଆରି କରାଯାଉ ଯେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ସେଟା ଆଇନ ଦ୍ୱାରା ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ଟ କରାଯାଉ. ତାମାନେ ଏ ମଦ ଯିଏ ଖାଉଛନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ଏଭରେଜ ଲୋକ ଖାଉନାହାନ୍ତି, ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ ଏଭରେଜ ସିଟିଜେନ୍ ବା ଯୋଉ ନନ୍ ଡ୍ରିଙ୍କର ଯୋଉମାନେ ସେମାନେ କାହିଁକି ହଇରାଣ ହେବେ? ଏକ ଗୋଟେ ପରିବାରରେ ସେ ରୋଜଗାର କରିକି ଆଣିଲେ, ତାର ସ୍ତ୍ରୀ ଅଛି, ପିଲା ଛୁଆ ଏମାନେ ସବୁ ଅଛନ୍ତି, 3-4 କୁଟୁମ୍ବ ତାଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ସେ ରୋଜଗାର କରୁଛି, ସିଏ ଡ୍ରିଙ୍କ କରିକି ଆସିଲା ବେଳକୁ ଯାହା ତାର କ୍ଷତି ହେଲା ଏ 3 ଜଣ, ତାମାନେ ସେ ଜଣେ ମଦ ପିଲା 4 ଭାଗରୁ ଭାଗେ, ତେଣୁ 3 ଭାଗ ଲୋକ ସେମାନେ ହଇରାଣ ହେଲେ. ଏଠି ଯୋଉ କୁମାରପ୍ପା କହିବା କଥା ଯେ average citizen they should be escaped, they can survive if the prohibition act will be initiated by the government. So effect कौन है? The effects of alcohol consumption शीघ्र सारिबा माने इदिले टिके लॉन्ग ये थला effect कौन कला ना alcohol and social that interaction, alcohol that related social caste, alcohol crime. जे social interaction अरे problem हिची एवं किभଳି भाବରେ जो सृष्टि होची द्वंद्व सृष्टि होची तापरे alcohol related social that particularly caste सेठी ମଧ୍ୟ जे problem देखा देछि. The social cost of alcohol has been a subject of that particularly social cost. The subject extensive the investigation and rigorous research, the number of social scientists in the West by the West. The greatest alcohol related costs to society due to morality and that morbidity and lost productive due to death and illness. ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ମଦ ପିଇକି ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମରେ ପଡୁଛି ସେତେବେଳେ ସରକାର ଡାକ୍ତରଖାନାରେ ପଇସା ମଧ୍ୟ ଖର୍ଚ୍ଚ ହଉଛି. ତେଣୁ ଏହାର ଯୋଉ ଇଲ୍ ଇଫେକ୍ଟ ହଉଛି ପଡୁଛି. ଆଚ୍ଛା, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ହେଲା କଣ? ଆଲକୋହଲ ପାଇଁ କ୍ରାଇମ୍ ମଧ୍ୟ ହଉଛି। ଇଏ ଗୋଟେ ହଉଛି ବଡ଼ କଥା ଯେ that a high level of relationship exists between liquor addiction and the that particularly propensity to commit crime. ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଦେଖନ୍ତି ଆକଳନ କରନ୍ତି ଯେ evidence of that statistical association between alcohol consumption and the incidence of criminal behavior is compelling. So however many studies point out to the issue of under reporting of minor crimes and the rape, the latter due to the stigma held by the victim or the influence that executed by the preparator of the crime. ତେଣୁ ମଦ ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ କ୍ରାଇମ୍ ମଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ତେଣୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯୋଉ ଏଠି ଯୋଉ କୁମାର ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା ଏବଂ ଗାନ୍ଧୀଙ୍କର ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାକୁ ଆମେ ଜଷ୍ଟିଫାଏ କରିବା। ସୋ ତାପରେ କ'ଣ ହେଲା ନା ଯେ କେସ୍ ଷ୍ଟଡି the liquor movement in Andhra Pradesh, participating organization and a campaign and that communications ଏଠି ଯୋଉ ଆନ୍ଧ୍ର ପ୍ରଦେଶରେ ଯୋଉ ହେଇଥିଲା liquor movement ସେଥିରେ that liquor movement started in that Dogargunta, a remote village in the that Nellore. That is that elderly woman who was inspired by the lessons of the adult education program जो हमरो प्रौढ़ शिक्षा जो यह था सेतिरे इन्स्पायर ही कि ସେମାନେ कोन कले ना केतेक वयस्क महिला protest कले। The protest by women of the village spread to neighboring villages पाखा आख गांव के मध्य व्याप्तिला and it was a revolt against the familiar happenings of that liquor addicts, spending women's wages, selling away that household goods. माने मद पीरी के आसिकी घरे जो जिंस पत्र अछि त जोर जबरदस्त नबा माने स्त्री की पिटिबा इला छम की पिटिबा तेनु ए प्रकार जो सिचुएशन होती से माने देखिले जा द्वारा ए जो बळे जो महिला जते बळे बाहर चते एवं यार प्रभाव मध्ये पड़ला अन्य गांव। So information about the protest spread through that word of mouth and through the established social network, the spontaneous action by women in many communities in other districts also occurred, breaking the pre-existing social norms, that is that patriarchy and non-patriarchy of women in the public domain. ତେଣୁ ଯେ ପୁରୁଷ କେନ୍ଦ୍ରିକ ହଉ ବା ମହିଳା କେନ୍ଦ୍ରିକ ତେଣୁ ଏଠି ଆନ୍ଧ୍ରପ୍ରଦେଶରେ ମହିଳାମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଦେଖିଲେ ତାଙ୍କ ପରିବାର ନଷ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି ଆଲକୋହଲ ପାଇଁ ତେଣୁ ସେମାନେ ଅଣ୍ଟା ଭିଡ଼ିଲେ ଯେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏ ପ୍ରକାର ଦମନ କରିବେ। ତେଣୁ ଯେ ଏଥିପାଇଁ ଯୋଉ ପାର୍ଟିସିପେଟିଂ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନ ସବୁ ବାହାରି ଆସିଲେ ଯେ ଆନ୍ଧ୍ରପ୍ରଦେଶ was built on the initiative and the participation of women, a multitude organization which involved in the anti-Arak that movement helped to mobilize women across the state. ତେଣୁ ଏଠି ଯୋଉ the anti-Arak movement helped to mobilize women across the state. Arak is a distilled alcoholic that drink typically produced in the Indian subcontinent, made from the fermented sap of coconut flowers and that grapes. ଏଠି କହିବା କଥା ତ ପିଲାମାନେ ଜାଣିଥିବେ ଯୋଉଟା ଆମର ହାଣ୍ଡିଆ ତାଡ଼ି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଗୁଡାକ ସେଟା ହଉଛି କୁହାଯାଏ କ'ଣ ନା ଆରାକ। ତେଣୁ ଆଣ୍ଟି ଆରାକ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଲ୍ପ ଟୁ ମୋବିଲାଇଜ ଦ women across the state. The participating organizations supported women to sustain the struggle for a ban on liquor and arak. ତେଣୁ ସେ ଯୋଉ ମଦ ବନ୍ଦ କରିବା ସାଙ୍ଗର ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ताड़ी हांडिया ये जो सब ये ताको सब बंद करिया पे अंटाडले organizations that are ranked from national, regional, grassroots women units and also issue based informal groups to political parties with different ideological orientation. So however the campaign आरंभ हला एवं कैंपेन आरंभ हला एवं सक्सेसफुली जो आंध्र प्रदेश रे सक्सेसफुल है यह सारा भारत वर्ष रे छुट जाए आमे ए करंट ये माने प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन रे देखिबा जे विभिन्न टाउन रे जो बस्ती एरिया रे I am from Bhadrak that I am telling that in the few days before just the COVID-19 in the month of January the group of that old lady they came from the that village and they just hired the particularly the local liquor shop को पूरा जाली देले से घर एवं जेते सब मदर ड्रम सब थिला ता पानी रास्ता रे कले आ ये कले कोन एटी जो माने थिले तम जबरदस्ती खीर पेले अरे हे मनीष तमे एतो खीर पियो तम देह होची माने शक्ति दब माने प्रोटीन विश्वडा को तम पियो लाइक so while there has been a steady increase in the production in the present scenario देखिबा the consumption of liquor manufactured in the organized sector a much larger proportion consists of country liquor the due made up to local farm produce and illicit alcohol तो वर्तमान देखा कि प्रेजेंट जो करंट सिनेरियो रे ते सरकार चाहउछन कि हमर मधुर अधिक रेवेन्यू होची तनो आमे तक प्राधान्य होची किंतु जो ये जो मद जो माने पिउछन बा लिकर इंटॉक्सिकेशन जो माने होछन से माने 1/3 टोटल पॉपुलेशन नो 1/3 सो 2/3 लोक काहे होची सो से माने हैरान इट होची देव आईडिया so prohibition has an important place in Gandhi's vision to case study on anti-liquor movement in Andhra Pradesh that describes the efforts at grassroots from women to the lowest that social stratum. So that has already been discussed. So before I start the farmers movement, just I want to conclude that prohibition has an important place in the Gandhian vision of India. He felt that alcoholism is an unmitigated evil, and when it becomes a habit, multiple pathological consequences follow. Gandhi suggested a three-pronged approach in dealing with the problem of drink. Take legal step against illicit that distillation and follow them up with effective enforcement through a special agency. जो माने सब काम करछन्ती स्पेशल एजेंसी माध्यम ताको माने धरा जो provision for punishment of those who are found drunk in the streets and other public places. तनु सर्वसाधारण जगह रे जो माने मद पिउछन्ती तांको पई मध्य कठोर दंड दिया जाऊ with the substantial fine मध्य करा जाऊ and imprisonment in case of the repeated यदि बारंबार से भूल कला ताको जे भीतर पुरे दे से जाऊ and finally the propagation by voluntary organization especially led by women in slums and in areas inhabited by labor with a view to that win the addicts away from the habit that Bharathan Kumarappa elaborates the basic ideas of Gandhi with regard to the effects of the drink habit of men on their families. The importance of public cooperation in sustaining prohibition and different of this Indian context from that of the West. So, to another case study, have a better impact on Sara Bharat the movement was able to force the political regime to change its liquor policy and to come up with a time frame for the introduction of policy. ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ସବୁ ଅଛି ଠିକ ଠାକ ଅଛି ଯେ ପବ୍ଲିକ ପ୍ଲେସରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ମଦ ପିଆଯାଉଛି ଆଉ ସେ ଆସିଲେ ପୋଲିସ ଦି ଚାରି ପାହାର ଦଉଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ କଣ କରାଯିବ ପୁଣି ଦି ଚାରି ପାହାର ଖାଇସାରିଲା ପରେ ପୁଣି ଯାଇକି ସେମାନେ ଯାଇକି ପହଞ୍ଚିବ ପୋଲିସ କଣ ସବୁବେଳେ ଜଗିଥିବ ନା so anyway so this concept is no doubt that has its social impact and also the moral development. Anyway, that unit 8, that is the farmers movement. এটা ଗୋଟେ ଏକ ଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାରର ଯୋଉ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ବିଫୋର ଇଣ୍ଡିପେଣ୍ଡେନ୍ସ ଯୋଉ ଭାରତୀୟ ସମାଜରେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯୋଉ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯେ ଲ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡରୁ ବଞ୍ଚିତ ହେଉଥିଲେ ବିଶେଷ କରି ବ୍ରିଟିଶ କଲୋନିଆଲ ପିରିୟଡ ସମୟରେ ଫାର୍ମର୍ସ ମାନେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର ଅସୁବିଧା ସମ୍ମୁଖୀନ ମଝିର ଯୋଉ ମିଡିଲ ମ୍ୟାନ ଜମିଦାର ଗୁମାସ୍ତାସ that the British that representative so they are that creating different type of that repressive measure against the particularly the farmers and also peasants. The farmers प्रथम peasant कि जी कृषक कंटिन्यूसली चाष करूला आउ मार्केट बोली किसी जान तेणु वर्तमान जो होची न्यू फार्मर्स मार्केट ओरिएंटेड तबे देखिबा जे फार्मर्स एंड peasant movement in India arose during the that British colonial period. Kind now when economic policies that characterized and the ruin of traditional that handicrafts, leading to the change of ownership, overcrowding of land, massive debt, and improvement of the peasantry. So the peasant of the farmer men have a long history that can be traced back to that particularly that numerous peasant uprising, whatever uprising. So, are you listening, my dear student? Okay, uprising that occurred in a various regions of the world throughout that human history. Early peasant movement were usually the result of the traces, feudal and also semi-feudal societies, and resulted in violent uprisings. During colonial period, when farmers in different parts of India revolted against the jamidars, landlords, British colonial masters, including feudal lords, that this movement were the result of severe exposure. कौन है लगे तो एक आंदोलन को ले हाँ कि इतनी निर्यातना दिया है and oppressive and the loss of rights सेमन अधिकार को राज्यत्व कराला एवं over law imposition of new that tenants and the new that agrarian relations of the peasants with the colonial state or the feudal laws. The most of these struggles that the peasant resorted to were either carried as a part of nationalist. जितने हमरो सब फार्मर्स मूवमेंट है सब को जो जातीय जो आंदोलन को प्रोत्साहित करछन्ती एवं से जातीय आंदोलन गोटे एसोसिएट भाव काम आउट ऑफ व्हिच एवं प्रथमे आरंभ होइतला ई फार्मर्स तापर जातीय आंदोलन को एटा कोन परिवर्तित हैला आउट ऑफ व्हिच थ्री इंपोर्टेंट आमे देखिबा ई जो फार्मर्स मूवमेंट उतरे जे आउट ऑफ व्हिच द थ्री इंपोर्टेंट स्ट्रगल दैट गांधी led require our special attention. तीनोटी मुख्य आंदोलन गोटे हैला चंपारण मूवमेंट 1918 1919 एवं जो बारदोली मूवमेंट 1925 एंड खेदा आंदोलन 1918 all these struggles had that one impact that it brought the peasants to the nationalist movement. ये तीनों की मूवमेंट कौन कला ना जो फार्मर मान नेशनल मूवमेंट रे जो मिसिया पे सुजोग किछि केला तेणु एठी कहबार कथा फार्मर्स मूवमेंट आरंभ होला एथि पई जेतोले ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियलिज्म जो शासन अरे कौन होला जमीर उच्छेद करा होला एवं जेतोले जमीदार इंटरमीडिएट अरे दैट मैन जेतोले सबु जहाँ से प्रोड्यूस कला so everything is taken away by the zamindars and some few grains so that has been given to the tillers so the tillers mean those who are the peasants who prakriti re chas kar so they became dissatisfied so the dissatisfaction disillusionment and also the discontentment among the peasants the farm the association who revolted against the zamindars, the landlords. So yes, the imperialism, British imperialism was present. So they were severely exploited, oppressed, and the loss of rights. So and the imposition of new taxation. तमें जे सब विरोध कले तापर आउ अलगा जे कर बसा जो ताको ऊपर न्यू टैक्स सब कर देले समाज देबे एवं एवढा कसो प्रॉब्लम सब सृष्टि होई जोटा कि हम तीनोटी गुरुत्वपूर्ण जो मोर फार्मर्स मूवमेंट रो हम देखिबा ए किबोली भाबरे जे भारतर ई फार्मर्स मूवमेंट which has laid the foundation of national more recent movement that tightly that particularly definition of social movement are usually much less violent and their demands are that centered on the better price. I mean, वर्तमान देखिए the better prices for agricultural produce, better wages and working conditions for the agricultural laborers and increasing the agricultural production. एठी कहला କଥା वर्तमान जो मूवमेंट होची आम जो नवनिर्माण कृषक जो संगठन जो ओडिशा से कौन डिमांड कर दे आर डिमांड सेंटर ऑन द बेटर प्राइसेस जो पीपीपी प्राइस प्रेस्टीज आउट पेंशन पीक्यू पीपीपी प्राइस प्रेस्टीज आउट पेंशन हमको दिया जाए द बेटर प्राइसेस फॉर एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोड्यूस हमको अधिक दाम दिया जाए बेटर वेज दिया जाए हमर जो मजूरी दिया जाउची सेतर होची सैटिस्फाइड एंड वर्किंग कंडीशन फॉर द एग्रीकल्चर लेबरर्स जो जमीन जो चाष करते लेबर तांकर वर्किंग कंडीशन होची रो एंड क्रिएटिंग द एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन हम केमति हर करा किंतु एटा होची जो वर्तमान रो जो फार्मर्स मूवमेंट रो किंतु आगुर होची सेटा अलग प्रकार होची थिला जेहेतु ब्रिटिश इंपेरियलिज्म थिला और ब्रिटिश इंपेरियलिज्म चाहतला किबुली भाबरे एक्सट्रैक्ट करी जे ड्रेन आकार होची ले जो ब्रिटिश को जते प्रकार फाइनेंस तो इट वाज सेपरेट तो ये संपर्क रे जे पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस जो फार्मर मूवमेंट रे देखिबा टिके द पास्ट इंडिपेंडेंट इंडिया द दैट इज द पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंट पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंट मतलब इंडिपेंडेंस पर कौन अवस्था होची Now, the post-independence India saw broadly two kinds of farmers that our peasants struggle in the particularly in the recent in the recent past in the respect of the past post-peasant movement led by that Marxist and sociologists such as Telangana movement. हमें जो रिसेंट कथा देखिबा एटा होचे तेलंगाना मूवमेंट आ गोटे हला नक्सलबारी मूवमेंट एंड द लीग दैट पर्टिकुलरली लालगढ़ मूवमेंट 2009 तेलंगाना मूवमेंट 1946 रु 51 नक्सलबारी मूवमेंट 1967 मसिया एंड लालगढ़ मूवमेंट 2009 ଏଇଗୁଡ଼ା ପ୍ରୋମିନେଣ୍ଟ ଯୋଉଥିରୁ ଆମେ ଜାଣିପାରିବା ଯେ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଡିପେଣ୍ଡେଣ୍ଟ ପିରିୟଡ଼ରେ ଯେ peasant or the farmers movement କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏକଜୁଟ ହେଇଥିଲା. Similarly, the farmers movement led by the rich farmers in Uttar Pradesh, that Karnataka and Maharashtra, Punjab and Gujarat, এইଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ରେ ପ୍ରଥମ କରି ହେଉଛି ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ଯୋଉ farmers movement, ଯୋଉଟା କି new farmers movement. In fact, the introduction of green revolution, ସେଠୁ କିଭଳି ନ୍ୟୁ ଫାର୍ମର୍ସ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ଏବଂ କ'ଣ ପାଇଁ ହେଉଛି ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଲା ଦେଖିବା. In fact, the introduction of the green revolution, new technology, government subsidies, etc. has created such a category in recent past. So, key is a category. Now, these categories are also called rich farmers. The struggle that those farmers resorted to in recent years has been conceptualized as new farmers movement. এই ମାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା କ'ଣ ହେଲା ନା ନୂଆ ଯୋଉ ଶ୍ରମିକ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ଯୋଉ ଆମର farmers movement ହେଉଛି ଆରମ୍ଭ, କୃଷକ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ଆରମ୍ଭ. The latter movement comes the closure to Gandhian movement of that past years, years. This is because of the fact that the strategies that they resorted to, methodologies that they adopt, the politics that played, the analysis that they made, including the conceptualizing of some of their struggles and the hearing of the Gandhi. ଏଠି ଏ କଥା କହିବା କଥା ଯେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯେ post independent period re non-violent movement, the idea of non-violent movement of Gandhi, non-violent movement को जो माध्यम करी किभଳି ଭାବରେ जो ଆମର farmers movement ଗୁଡ଼ିକ develop କରିଛି. ତେଣୁ new farmers movement ର ତାର କ'ଣ ରହୁଛି ନା strategies, that strategies, ତାପରେ ରହୁଛି movement beyond local and global, local ପୁରା global ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଗଲାଣି ଏବଂ party politics and division among the farmers movement. new farmers movement ସେ ଇଏ ଗୋଟେ କୃଷକ ସଂଗଠନ କଲେଣି, ଆଉ ଜଣେ ଅକ୍ଷୟ ବାବୁ ଗୋଟେ କୃଷକ ସଂଗଠନ କଲେଣି, ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ division of that farmers organization and the social basis of farmers movement. I mean, Gandhiji and also that farmers movement. এই যে ଟପିକ ଗୁଡ଼ାକ ଏହା ସହିତ ରହିଛି. ତେଣୁ ଆମେ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ ପୋଷ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଡିପେଣ୍ଡେଣ୍ଟ ପିରିୟଡରେ ଯେ ନ୍ୟୁ ଫାର୍ମର୍ସ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟର କଣ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁସନ କ'ଣ ଅଛି ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ. ଇଣ୍ଡିଆନ କଣ୍ଟେକ୍ସଟରେ କ'ଣ ଅଛି ନା ନ୍ୟୁ ଫାର୍ମର୍ସ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ emerged that at a time when agriculture was undergoing that tremendous crisis. That agriculture was under the tremendous crisis, it emerged when terms of trade were going against the agriculture. Agriculture income from the agriculture was dwindling. Input prices were going beyond the reach of that seven farmers, etc. It started in the Maharashtra under that particularly that sectary Sangathan, when under the sectary Sangathan, when it demanded that remunerative prices to that union, it was later on followed by the Karnataka under the Karnataka that Rajya Rahita Sangha, to Bharatiya Kisan Union in Uttar Pradesh, etc. So although they started almost the that simultaneously the differences among the farmers organization that connected the movements into becoming a big force in Indian politics. ये जो सब farmers movement सब develop कला विभिन्न एरिया तो यह भारतीय राजनीति को कौन कला ना प्रभावित कला कोटा जे हमर कंट्रीब्यूशन कौन अछि न्यू फार्मर तो भारतीय राजनीति को प्रभावित कला तमाने दी that means the legislators the government should take such a step in favor of the farmers so that the farmers will exist in the society and the moral of the farmers morale that is the moral of the farmers will develop यदि माने ठीक भाବରେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରୋତ୍ସାହନ ଦିଆଯିବ ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ଫଳରେ ଭାରତୀୟ ରାଜନୀତି ପ୍ରଭାବିତ ହେଲା despite the differences the new farmers movement did bring about a paradigm shift in the discourse analysis and perception about the farmer in India. It made the policymakers to address the deep-rooted crisis of agriculture as well as the agrarian classes in India. It has also helped the farmer to be a part in international movement against such issues as globalization, imperialism, and capitalism. केवल यह स्थानीय क्षेत्र में ये राज्य क्षेत्र में हमर जातीय क्षेत्र में अंतर्जातीय क्षेत्र में प्रभावित कला जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन इंटरनेशनल एवं कैपिटलिज्म को मध्य प्रभावित कला that farmers apart from this that nonetheless they have not been effective in bringing the radical transformation in the countryside. This is because of the fact that the movements from the very beginning were unable to overcome the internal conflict as well as the contradiction. ये जो संगठन सब हला ताके भितरे सब contradiction सब रहला ताके भितरे जो के विभेद रहे आ गोटे कथा हला काहे के माने मझिरे फेल्युअर हला ना सेकेंडली they did not carry any radical agenda from within. For example, they never bothered to demand a radical land reforms, nor were they concerned about the atrocities that perpetrated on marginal classes, including the Dalits in the countryside. ये सब कथा को समाने जो माने उठेले नहीं. Since the movements from the very beginning were identified with the richer market-oriented farmers. That's the market-oriented farmers. All market-oriented farmers. The other categories that received that scant focus in their politics. So market-oriented जो कथा जेकिंती हमरो उचित दରରେ बिक्री हबो प्रोडक्शन ପାଇଁ ଆମେ प्रोत्साहन दवा दरकार ई सब उपरे गुरुत्व देला जोरा को जो गोटे land matters एमाने किछु उठेले नाही. So this is the reason why they have been losing their social basis. Further, their operational areas are confined to those localities wherein the classes of rich or the market-oriented farmers were come to stay. तनो जो लोकल जो ये होता जो रोइला फार्मर्स मन समाने आउ आसी पारले नहीं किंतु मार्केट ओरिएंटेड फार्मर्स समाने आसीले कोन जो फेस्टिवल and this has further reduced their areas of operation. So whatever made the এটা এই কারণটা কইলি যে কাই কি ফার্মার ফার্মার and loser hand and success receive. So whatever made the weakness, one should not overlook the fact that the new farmers movement has given new meaning to the study of the farmers movement in India. Despite the differences, one can say that they reflect Gandhism, although not all the organization votes for the Gandhism. You know, I mean, तार weakness कोइले मध्य गांधीया जो थॉट रे जे किमोली भाव रे समाने जो सक्सेसफुल हे पारले से कथा मध्य हमको विचार को नवार अछि तनो फार्मर्स मूवमेंट farmers movement, new farmers movement, and ଯେତେ ସବୁ ପିଜନ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଏଗୁଡ଼ିକ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଭାବରେ ଗୋଟେ ଭାରତୀୟ ରାଜନୀତିକୁ ପ୍ରଭାବିତ କରିବା ସଙ୍ଗେ ସଙ୍ଗେ ଯେ ସ୍ୱାଧୀନତାର ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟାୟରେ ଗୋଟେ ରିଫର୍ମେସନ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ଆଣିଛି ବୋଲି ଆମେ ଅସ୍ୱୀକାର କରିପାରିବା ନାହିଁ। So next we will follow the two important environmental issues. The environmental issue ଗୋଟେ ହେଲା ଚିପକୋ movement and another is particularly ନର୍ମଦା ବଞ୍ଚାଅ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ and also ତେହେରି। এই দুইটা হচ্ছে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ଯୋଉ କଥା ଏବଂ ତାକୁ ନଟସେଲରେ ମୁଁ ପ୍ରିପେୟାର କରିଛି ଚିପକୋ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ କାହିଁକି ହେଲା ଏବଂ ଆମର ନର୍ମଦା ବଞ୍ଚାଅ ଆଉ ତେହେରି ଡ୍ୟାମ ସେ ହେଉଛି କ'ଣ। ତେଣୁ dear learner, you see that ଚିପକୋ movement that is related with the life and approach of Mohapatra. The life of Gandhi works have been continuous source of inspiration to different movements. Today, the environmental issues have taken at a center stage in many parts of the world. In fact, Gandhi is now being considered as one of the earliest environmentalists, and especially since the onset of the चिपको movement in the Garhwal Himalaya region. The चिपको movement, which finds its origin in the protests against the commercial exploitation of the forest by the contractors in connivance with the forest officials, is a landmark environmental movement in India marked by the adoption of Gandhian mode of protest. ତେଣୁ ଏ ସରକାର ଚାହିଁଲେ କିଛି ଯୋଉ ହିମାଳୟ ଯୋଉ ରିଜନରେ କିଛି ଗଛକୁ କାଟି ଯୋଉ ସ୍ପୋର୍ଟସ ମେଟେରିଆଲ ଆରମ୍ଭ କରି ତେଣୁକରି କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାକ୍ଟର ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଲିଜ୍ ଦିଆଗଲା ଯେ ସେମାନେ ଯେତେ ଶୀଘ୍ର ତାକୁ କାଟିକି ସଫା କରିବେ। ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଚିପକୋ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଜଙ୍ଗଲକୁ କାଟି ସେଥିରେ ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ ଡେଭଲପମେଣ୍ଟ କରିବା ଦ୍ୱାରା ସେଠି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଦୈନନ୍ଦିନ ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଲାଗୁଥିଲା ମାନେ ସେଇ ଜଙ୍ଗଲରୁ ସେମାନେ କିଛି ମାନେ ଦ୍ରବ୍ୟ ବାହାର କରି ଚଳୁଥିଲେ, ସେମାନଙ୍କ ଜାଳେଣୀ କାଠ କିଛି ସଂଗ୍ରହ କରୁଥିଲେ ଏବଂ ଯେମିତି ତାଙ୍କର it directly that affected the livelihood of that areas. এটা হচ্ছে মুখ্য কথা। ତେଣୁ ସେ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିରୁ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ଯେ କ'ଣ ସିଗ୍ନିଫିକାନ୍ସ ଅଛି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ the non-violent environmental movement, significance of the non-violent environmental movement relating to the चिपको. The चिपको movement of the चिपको आंदोलन was a forest conservation movement in India. ଏ ଜଙ୍ଗଲକୁ ସଂରକ୍ଷଣ କରି ରଖିବା ପାଇଁ ଭାରତରେ ଏହା ହେଉଛି ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରଥମ ଯୋଉ ପରିବେଶ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ। It began in 1970s in that Uttarakhand, then a part of the Uttar Pradesh, and went on to become that rallying point of for many that future environment movement all over the world. It created a precedent for starting non-violent protest in India. And ପରିବେଶ କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ଇଏ ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରେସିଡେଣ୍ଟ ପକେଇଦେଲା ଯେ ଚିପକୋ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପରିବେଶକୁ ମାନେ କିଏ କ୍ଷତି କରୁଛି ସରକାର ତରଫରୁ ହଉ ବା ଅନ୍ୟାନ୍ୟ ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରେସର ହଉ ତାହେଲେ ତାକୁ କେମିତି ଭାବରେ ବିରୋଧ କରାଯିବ। And its success meant that the world that immediately took notice of his non-violent movement, which was to inspire in a time many similar that eco groups by helping to slow down the rapid deforestation, expose vested interest increase the social that awareness that how the deforestation द्वारा जो लोक माने आम परिवेश किभली भाबरे जे परिवेश तथा परिवेशर जो imbalance that means we will live in a ecological balance environment. If it will fails, if we will not get the that maximum oxygen, so how can we live? So increase the social awareness and the need to save trees, increase the ecological awareness, and demonstrate the viability of a people power. Above all, it that the state which stirred up the existing civil society in India, which began to address the issues of a tribal and the marginalized people. ତେଣୁ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ପରିବେଶ awareness ଚିପକୋ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଯୋଉ ସାଧାରଣ ଲୋକ ଏଭଳି କି ଆଦିବାସୀ ଅଧ୍ୟୁଷିତ ଅଞ୍ଚଳର ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ମଧ୍ୟରେ ଗୋଟେ ସଚେତନତାର ଜାଗ୍ରତ କଲା ଯଦି ପରିବେଶ ରହିବ ଆମେ ବଞ୍ଚିବା ଏବଂ ପରିବେଶ ଯଦି ନ ରହିବ ଆମେ ବଞ୍ଚି ପାରିବା ନାହିଁ କି ପରିବେଶ that is the balanced that ତେଣୁ the ଚିପକୋ movement is a movement that practiced methods of satyagraha where both male and female activists from Uttarakhand played a vital role. केवल जे पुरुष होती नारी माने मुख्य क्षेत्र होची जोथबे कि that particularly चिपको मूवमेंट को मध्य हुआ जाए it is a eco feminist movement मध्य so including that some that renowned leaders that Gauro Devi, that Suraksha Devi, that Sudesha Devi, and the Chandi Prasad Bhatt and others. So they have that played their sincere role the how the deforestation will be gone. So today, beyond the eco that the socialism view, it is being seen increasingly as an eco-feminism movement. Although many of its leaders were men, जदियो चिपको मूवमेंट रे अधिकांश माने पुरुष थिले, but women were not only its that but also its that mainstay. हमको पछरे होची नारी मानकर यथेष्ट जो भाग थिला कोन ना because they were once most affected by the rampant deforestation. ये जो गछ को काटी की माने जो सरकार को निर्देश देले जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को कहले तम गछ काटी की लॉ गुडा से रख एटा स्पोर्ट्स यूज होगा तो से स्थानीय अंचल लोक माने जो से जो जंगल पर निर्भर करते तंका जीविका निर्भर करते तो डायरेक्टली affected कला which was the main reason for why the Zippo movement that started. So which led to lack of that firewood. जो जालेनी काठ टिके पाउथले जो सुकिथिला सुकिला काठ पानी से मध्य गला and the forests as well as the water for drinking and irrigation एगुडा कहउची मध्य समाने पाइले नहीं. And over the years they also became primary stakeholders in a majority of the afforestation work that happened under the Chipko movement. In 1987, the Chipko movement was awarded the right that livelihood award for its dedication to the conservation, restoration, and ecological sound use of Indians and natural resources. So this is the significance of non-violent environmental movement. So I will discuss in the one after another that what is its origin, that reading that Chipko movement leaders, objective, the outcomes. So you see the origin of Chipko movement, that starting of movement in modern India In modern India, Chipko movement started in April 1973 in that Uttar Pradesh. ଆମେ ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ହିମାଳୟ ରିଜନ ବୋଲି କହୁଛନ୍ତି ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ସେଟା ଉତ୍ତର ପ୍ରଦେଶ ଏବଂ that Mandal village in the upper Alakananda Valley. Soon it spread to other Himalaya districts of the state. The Chipko movement was triggered by a government decision to allot forest land to a sports goods company. तो स्पोर्ट्स गुड्स कंपनी को सरकार जिते लीज देदेले से चिपको मूवमेंट जो आरंभ है लोक मान जो जो जीविका उपरे यह सीधा सड़क प्रभाव कौ मैंने लीडिंग नहीं चिपको मूवमेंट जे दैट लीडिंग बाय द चिपको मूवमेंट दैट सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा इज ए नोटेड एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट एंड चिपको मूवमेंट लीडर. So the idea of a Chipko movement, एटा तो सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा को आइडिया नथिला तांको मिसेस को एटा होती थिला होती प्रभाव जोति पे कि से तांको मिसेस द्वारा प्रभावित हो कि ये आंदोलन को आरंभ करले कोन द आइडिया ऑफ Chipko movement was of his wife and the action was taken by him. ते एटा को जते बेले सेटिका अंचल जो महिला माने उपलब्धि करछंती एवं से आसिक जेतबेले सुंदरलाल बहुगुणार मिसेस को जेतबेले होइछते कथा सेतबेले सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा ने को टेक अप करछन. सो फॉर इयर्स ही हैज बीन फाइटिंग फॉर द प्रिजर्वेशन ऑफ अ फॉरेस्ट इन द हिमालयस. फर्स्ट एज ए मेंबर ऑफ द चिपको मूवमेंट इन द 1970 1970 मसीह से आरंभ कले आंदोलन एंड लेटर एवं सेतेबेले जो अन्य जो महिला माने मते सहयोग करथिले एंड लेटर दैट स्पीयरहेडेड द एंटी तेहरी द मूवमेंट स्टार्टिंग इन 1980 एंड ही वाज वन ऑफ द अर्ली एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट ऑफ इंडिया. तनो सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा ये जो पर्टिकुलरली जो चिपको मूवमेंट चिपको मूवमेंट एवं सेठी केमिति फॉरेस्टा माने रहिबो तापे आंदोलन रो नेतृत्व निथिले एवं जो चिपको मूवमेंट इज द लैंडमार्क ऑफ द पर्टिकुलरली इकोलॉजिकल मूवमेंट जो आरंभ हिच. नेक्स्ट द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ चिपको मूवमेंट. व्हाट वाज द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ चिपको मूवमेंट? The Chipko movement is a non-violent social and ecological movement by rural villagers. यह ग्रामांचल रो लोकमान को पई निहाती एक परिवेश आंदोलन थिला काहे कि ना पर्टिकुलरली वुमेन इन इंडिया इन द 1970s aimed at protecting trees and that forest the forest slated for government bed law. तो सरकार को तरफ जते बेले यह उच्छेद करा जाउथला तनो ताकू प्रथम करी जो रूरल विलेजर मानन को यह होची कुठारघात करथिला तनो ताकू एथिरु मुक्त बचेबा पई एवं ताकर जीविका को पुनी सरकार को छोड़ी आनिबा पई ए प्रकार व्यवस्था करा. देन दी ई जो हमें देखले जे रीडिंग लेथिला एवं ऑब्जेक्टिव कोन थिला एवं आउटकम्स ऑफ चिपको मूवमेंट हला पर कोन हला आउटकम कोन को बेले. Now the Chipko movement protest in Uttar Pradesh achieved a major victory in 1980 with the 15 years ban on green felling in the Himalayas forest of that state by the order of the then Prime Minister of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi. सेतबेले बारंबार ये जो आंदोलन हला सेतबेले then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi बाध्य हेले ताकू बंद करिया पई further order. So since then, the movement has spread to many states in the country. So finally, it is to be noted here that any development agenda. So my dear learner, so try to remember it. Finally, it is to be noted here that any development agenda that ignores the real welfare of all, and that which exploits nature as well as the human has its negative impact as well as the effects. Impact as well as कहीं जी गोटे कॉमन वेलफेयर ପାଇଁ ନଷ୍ଟ କରିଥିବ ଶୋଷଣ କରିଥିବ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ତାର ପରବର୍ତ୍ତୀ जो नेगेटिव इनसाइट ଆସିବ the चिपको movement is a struggle against this concept of development. It was against the that commodification of forest resources and fighting for the conservation of resources useful for the local population and fighting for the rights and subsistence. Local ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଅଧିକାର ଏବଂ ସେମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ କମୋଡିଟି ଯୋଉଟା ବ୍ୟବହାର କରୁଥିଲେ କେମିତି ସ୍ଥିର ରହିବ. The CIPCO activists have found an effective means of that conducting environmental campaigns along with the non-violent lines. Much can be learned from their experience and a knowledge of their struggle can bring strength to those fighting a similar battle of other parts of the world. So, what we learn here, so thus the movement also demonstrated the resurgence of women power and their concern for the planet, Earth, and ecology. It brought into the light the burning issue of judicious use of natural capital, which would in the long run benefit the whole world mankind, and though it is the recovery of Earth's most precious resource. जो पृथ्वीर एवं आम जो प्लानेट रे ये जो नेचुरल जो कैपिटल ये नेचुरल कैपिटल को जो लोक माने जो मूवमेंट रे एक्टिविस्ट माने आंदोलन करी जो रक्षा कले ये केवल गोटे पार्टिकुलर एरिया पे ही सबू लोक मानक पे जो आवश्यकता थिला. एवं लास्ट बट नॉट द लिस्ट हियर लर्नर. So just I will take only 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes I will finish this particular that unit. It is also an important that environmental issue, ecological issue related that Narmada Banchao Andolon and the Tehri Dam. The Narmada Banchao Andolon and the Tehri Dam are the two prominent that violent struggle against the big dam constructions. They involved the Gandhian method of fasting and the staging protest by the involving large number of people in their masses movement. The reason for this that protest is not a mere agitation against the dam construction, that it involves the rehabilitation of those नर्मदा बंचाओ आंदोलन नर्मदा नदी रे जो सरदार सरोवर नदीबंध योजना करा जाउतला एटा केवल नदीबंध योजना को जो विरोध करी प्रोटेस्ट कराई नथला. It involves the rehabilitation of those who lose their that homestead here. जे निजर घरवाड़ी पैतृक संपत्ति जो समान छाड़िले जो डेडिकेट कले and the valuable property मूल्यवान जो agrarian area in this development process of the government. सरकारଙ୍କର जो development project ପାଇଁ ଏ जो लूज करे ତେଣୁ the dam over Narmada river largely displace the local population whose livelihood is closely associated with the natural surrounding. ये जो थिला प्राकृतिक परिवेश भितरे तांकर जीवन निर्वाह करुଥିଲେ ए जो सरदार सरोवर डैम नर्मदा नदी ऊपर जो हला एटा डायरेक्ट तांकर जीविका ऊपर जो कोठारघात करथिला. इन अदर वर्ड्स द नर्मदा बचाओ आंदोलन जहां को शॉर्ट फॉर्म में कहते एनबीए इज द दैट पीपल्स मूवमेंट दैट मोबिलाइज्ड इटसेल्फ अगेंस्ट दिस डेवलपमेंट इन द माइंड एंड लेट 1980s. The movement first started is a protest for not providing the proper benefit from the rehabilitation and the resettlement for the people who have been displaced by the construction of Sardar Sarovar. ତେଣୁ ସର୍ଦ୍ଦାର ସରୋବର ଡ୍ୟାମ୍ ଯୋଉ ତିଆରି ହେଲା ସେଥିରେ ସେମାନେ ଉଚ୍ଛେଦ ହେଲେ ଏବଂ ଉଚ୍ଛେଦ ପାଇଁ ପ୍ରକ୍ରିୟା ହେଲା। ତେଣୁ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ କ'ଣ ହେଲା ଯେ ନର୍ମଦା ବଞ୍ଚାଅ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ଯୋଉ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କୋଉଠୁ ଅରିଜିନିୟର ହେଲା? ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ an Indian that social movement that spearheaded by the native tribal that Adivasis farmers, environmentalists and the human rights activists against a number of large dam projects that across river Narmada, which flows through this states of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra. Sardar Sarovar Dam that in Gujarat is one of the biggest dam on the river and was one of the first focal point of the movement. It is part of the Narmada Dam project. So whose main aim, jar mukhya uddeshya kon thila na, is to provide that irrigation and electricity to people of the above state. ତେଣୁ ଗୁଜରାଟ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଯେ ଜଳ ଏବଂ ବିଦ୍ୟୁତ ଏଇ ଦୁଇଟା ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଡ୍ୟାମ୍ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ କରାଯାଇଥିଲା। ଦ ମୋଡ୍ ଅଫ୍ କ୍ୟାମ୍ପେନ୍ ଅଣ୍ଡର that Narmada Bachao Andolan includes the court actions, hunger strikes, rallies, and gathering support from the notable film and art personalities. The Narmada Bachao Andolan, with its the leading spokespersons, that is the Medha Patekar and Baba Ahmed, have received the right livelihood award in 1991. ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ନର୍ମଦା ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ଯୋଉ ସର୍ଦ୍ଦାର ସରୋବର ଡ୍ୟାମ୍ ପାଇଁ କ'ଣ କ୍ଷତି ହେଲା ନା ତାଙ୍କ ଲାଇଭଲିହୁଡ୍ କ୍ଷତି ହେଲା। ଆଉ ଗୋଟିଏ କଥା ହେଲା ରିହାବିଲିଟେସନ ଯୋଉ ବ୍ୟବସ୍ଥା ଥିଲା ସେଇ ଅନୁସାରେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଦିଆ ହିଁ ନଥିଲା। ତ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ପୁନର୍ବିନ୍ୟାସ ବ୍ୟବସ୍ଥା ଯୋଉ ଅଛି ଯୋଉ ନିୟମ ଅଛି ସେଇ ଅନୁସାରେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କୁ ଡିସପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ କରା ହଉନଥିଲା, ଯୋଉଥିପାଇଁ ସେମାନେ ବିରୋଧ କଲେ। ତେଣୁ ଏଇଠି କହିବା ଯେ ବାବା ଆହମେଦ was one of the India's key. Baba Ahmed Kiye and Medha Patekar Kiye. So who have taken the leadership in Narmada Bachao Andolan. Baba Ahmed was one of the Indian most respected social and moral leaders, while Medha Patekar, a graduate in social work, is that one of the initiators of the Save the Narmada River. So Narmada Bachao Andolan has mobilized itself against the disastrous Narmada Valley Dams project, the epitome of that unsustainable development, both for its huge ecological impact and the displacement of about millions of people that it caused, shifting the political focus to the promotion of alternatives designed to benefit the poor and the environment. ତେଣୁ ନିୟୁତ ଲୋକଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଡିସପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ ତାଙ୍କୁ କରାଗଲା, ଏହା ଦ୍ୱାରା କ'ଣ ହେଲା ନା ପରିବେଶ ସାଙ୍ଗକୁ ଏମାନଙ୍କର ଲାଇଭଲିହୁଡ୍ ମଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ସବୁଦିନ ପାଇଁ ଥ୍ରେଟନିଂ ହେଲା। ଏଇଟା ହେଉଛି ମେନ୍ ରିଜିନ୍ ଫର୍ ହ୍ୱାଇ ଦି ନର୍ମଦା ବଚାଓ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ୱାଜ୍ ଇନିସିଏଟେଡ୍। ତେଣୁ ତାର ଆଉଟକମ୍ସ କ'ଣ ନର୍ମଦା ବଚାଓ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ ହେଲା ପରେ କ'ଣ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ କ'ଣ ଫଳ ହେଲା? ନା ଯୋଉ the years together the agitation, so it invited the positive result, but the World Bank announced it to institute an independent review of the Sardar Sarovar project. तो ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ରିହାବିଲିଟେସନ ସ୍କିମ୍ ସୁବିଧାରେ ପଇସା ପାଇନାହାନ୍ତି, ପରିବେଶ ନଷ୍ଟ ହଉଛି, ଏଟା ୟା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଠିକ ସବୁ ଯାଏ, ଗଲା ପରେ ୱାର୍ଲଡ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ତାକୁ କ'ଣ ଇସ୍ୟୁ କରେ ବା ପରମିଶନ ଦିଏ। ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଏଠି ଯୋଉ ଲେଖନା ଅଛି ସେ କଥା ହଉଛି ଯେତେବେଳେ ଜାଣିପାରିନଥିଲେ, ତେଣୁ ଯଦି ମେଧା ପାଟେକର ଏବଂ ବାବା ଆହମେଦ, so they wrote letter and they go on fasting to save these that areas. So which came to the notice of the World Bank. Then World Bank on step level. The review was the first on its kind and included the sweeping that mandates and procedures for supervision. It may have been the first instance in the World Bank history that the activity of a population affected the policy decision. ତେଣୁ ଏହା ୱାରେଣ୍ଟ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ଇତିହାସରେ ପ୍ରଥମ ଯେ ଲୋକମାନେ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ କରି ୱାରେଣ୍ଟ ବ୍ୟାଙ୍କର ଡିସିସନକୁ ଚେଞ୍ଜ କରିବେ କାହିଁକି ନା the ନର୍ମଦା ବଞ୍ଚାଅ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନ has made the work of a human to the nation by making a that huge level of awareness regarding Saroj's environment and the recovery and the relief that aspect and the other Narmada initiatives. ତେଣୁ ନର୍ମଦା ବଚାଅ ଆନ୍ଦୋଳନକୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ଗୋଟେ ସଚେତନ ସୃଷ୍ଟି କଲା ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଗୋଟେ ସଚେତନତା ସୃଷ୍ଟି କଲା here we have to that give some tips that how the critics ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ସିଷ୍ଟମରେ ଯେ the people have gained much because when the review committee gave report. So it was in favor of the people of that area. So when Medha Pathakar and also Baba Ahmed so had gone on fasting and it was the serious situation of Medha Pathakar. So which that influenced the that World Bank. So here, but critics argue that the dam's benefit include provision of drinking water, power generation, and that irrigation facilities. एगुड़ाक सब प्रोजेक्ट एगुड़ाक सब होता पीवा पानी पाई था लोक मैंने पावर जनरेशन होता इरिगेशन फैसिलिटी पाई था however that it is believed that the campaign led by the that Narmada Bachao Andolan activist has held up the project's completion and the Narmada Bachao Andolan supporters have attacked on the local people who accepted the compensation for moving. In spite of the criticism, the Narmada Bachao Andolan was a remarkable non-violent movement for the poor and environment. So cannot be. ଆମର ଅଛି ଯେ ଲୋକମାନେ ବିରୋଧ କରିଛନ୍ତି ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ହେଇପାରିଲାନି କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ରିଭ୍ୟୁ କମିଟି ପରେ ଯୋଉ ଫ୍ୟାସିଲିଟି ଦିଆଗଲା ତାକୁ କି ଲୋକମାନେ ଗ୍ରହଣ କଲେ ଏଠି କ୍ରିଟିକ୍ ମାନେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ଏହା ସତ୍ୟ ମଧ୍ୟ ଏହା ଯେ ଗୋଟେ ରିମାର୍କେବଲ ନନ୍-ଭାୟୋଲେଣ୍ଟ ମୁଭମେଣ୍ଟ ଏବଂ ଏଇ ଆୱାରନେସଟା ସାରା ଭାରତ ବର୍ଷରେ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯୋଉ ସଚେତନ ହେଲେ ଯେ ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ପରିବେଶକୁ କୌଣସି ସରକାରଙ୍କର ନିଷ୍ପତ୍ତି ଦ୍ୱାରା କୌଣସି ପରିବେଶକୁ କ୍ଷତି ଆଣିଲା ଭଳି କରାଯାଇପାରିବନି ଏବଂ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯଦି ଏକଜୁଟ ହେବେ ତାହେଲେ କୌଣସି ଏନଭାଇରନମେଣ୍ଟାଲ କଣ୍ଡିସନ ମଧ୍ୟ ହେଉଛି ରକ୍ଷା କରିପାରିବେ ତେଣୁ and the Narmada Bachao Andolan and another one thing the Tehri Dam is the another that dam in short form रे कोई दूची the Tehri Dam to the highest that dam तने तार बहुत ऊंचा होची थिला जो हमरो ए डैम टा प्रोजेक्ट टा एवं ए डैम रो जो हाइट जो हाइट ता किबोली भाबरे जो भागीरथी नदी रिभर ऊपर एटा हेतिला एवं यह किबोली भाबरे यदि बंध भांगे यदि ए जो उच्चा बंध यदि भागे ताले तो किबोली भाबरे जो छटाकार जो टाउन को अफेक्ट करिवो म्युनिसिपल जो एरिया को टाउन एवं एनवायरनमेंट को किबोली भाबरे नष्ट करिवो ए को एप्रिएट करि आंदोलन काउची सो Tehri Dam is the highest dam in India and one of the highest in the world. It is a multi-purpose rock and the earth-filled embankment dam on the Bhagirathi River near the Tehri in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand road is Tehri. It is the primary dam in the Tehri hydroelectricity complex, Tehri Dam withholds the reservoir for irrigation, municipal water supply, and the generation of 1000 megawatt hydroelectricity. So, which would have the benefit for the particularly Uttarakhand. The Tehri Dam has been the object of protest by environment organizations and local people of the region. Mr. V.D. Saklani, lawyer and founder of the anti-Tehri Dam struggle committee, was quick to point out the consequences associated with the land. Environment activists like Sundar Lal Mohapatra led the anti-Tehri Dam movement, जे कि माने चिपको मूवमेंट रखते थे, तेणु जो सुंदर लाल बहुगुणा led the anti-Tehri Dam movement for years from 1980 till 2004. The protest was against the displacement of a town, inhabitants and environmental consequences of the weak ecosystem. ତେଣୁ ସେଠିକାର ଯୋଉ ପରିବେଶ ଥିଲା, ସେଠି ତେହେରି ଅଞ୍ଚଳର ଯୋଉ ଟାଉନ ଥିଲା, ସେଠିକାର ଯୋଉ ଅଧିବାସୀ ଥିଲେ ଏବଂ ଯୋଉ ଡିସପ୍ଲେସମେଣ୍ଟ ହେବେ ହ୍ୟୁଜ୍ ଆମାଉଣ୍ଟରେ, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଏବଂ ଦ୍ୱିତୀୟ କଥା ସେମାନେ ଏପ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କରୁଥିଲେ ଏତେ ଉଚ୍ଚା ବନ୍ଧ ଯଦି ଭାଙ୍ଗେ, କାରଣ ସେ ଯୋଉ ବନ୍ଧ ତିଆରି ହେଇଥିଲା ସେ କିଛି ମଲ୍ଟିପର୍ପୋଜ ରକ୍ ଆଉ ଆର୍ଥ ଫିଲିଂ ଯୋଉଥିପାଇଁ ଲୋକମାନେ ଆଶଙ୍କା କରୁଥିଲେ ଯଦି ଏ ବନ୍ଧ ଭବିଷ୍ୟତରେ କେବେ ବି ଭାଙ୍ଗେ ସେ ଟାଉନ ଥିବ ଏବଂ ଏମାନେ ଯେ ଅଧିବାସୀ ମାନେ ସମସ୍ତେ ଥିବେ ଏବଂ ଏହାର ପରିବେଶୀୟ ପ୍ରଭାବ ଏଭଳି ଭାବରେ ହବ ଗୋଟେ ପୁଅର ଇକୋସିଷ୍ଟମ କିଛି ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେବ। For which the Tehri movement started with the leadership of the V.D. Saklani and also the Sundar Lal Bahuguna also added to this. So these movements also that reiterated the relevance of non-violence that gives us a ray of hope in the world that is afflicted by the violence and injustice, so which is at times prompted by the very institution of the state. ତେଣୁ ଏଥିରୁ ପ୍ରମାଣ ହେଲା ଯେ ଯୋଉଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଏନଭାଇରନମେଣ୍ଟାଲ ଇସ୍ୟୁରେ ଯୋଉ ଲୋକମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଏକଜୁଟ ହେଇକି ଯୋଉ ପ୍ରତିବାଦ ଜଣେଇଲେ, ସେଥିରୁ ଜଣା ହେଲା ଯେ ଆମ ଯୋଉ ପରିବେଶ ପାଇଁ ଯେ ଲୋକମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଯଥେଷ୍ଟ ଯୋଉ ଦାବି ଉପସ୍ଥାପନ କରି ଏକ ପରିବର୍ତ୍ତନ କରିପାରିବେ। ତେଣୁ ଯୋଉ ଏନଭାଇରନମେଣ୍ଟାଲ ଇସ୍ୟୁ ରିଲେଟେଡ that particularly the Narmada Banchao and Tehri Dam ଏ ବାବଦରେ ଆମେ କହିବା ଯେ ନର୍ମଦା ଏବଂ ତେହେରି reflect the systematic flows that englobe the judicious planning of the large dam construction in India and abroad. They also clearly reflect the official apathy towards the sensitivities of the local communities concerned. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଯୋଉ ବିକାଶମୂଳକ ପଦକ୍ଷେପ ନିଆଯାଉ, ଯୋଉଠି ଡ୍ୟାମ୍ କରାଯାଉ, ସେଠିକାର ଯୋଉ ସ୍ଥାନୀୟ ସମ୍ପ୍ରଦାୟଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ତାଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଅଛି ଫିଲିଙ୍ଗସ୍ ଏବଂ ତା ସହିତ ସହମତ ହବ, ତାଙ୍କର ସମ୍ବେଦନଶୀଳତାକୁ ବୁଝିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ। That the dam constructions without consideration pose immense dangers to the overall structure of the systematic planning and implementation. For any plan to be implemented, it requires that weighing of the pros and the cons of the project function. These massive constructions severely affect the socio-economic fabric of the communities that get displaced in the process. Not only are they deprived of their basic right to a decent life, but also are subject to hostile behavior in the newly settled region and their original inhabitants. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରୁ ଅନ୍ୟ ଜାଗାକୁ ଗଲେ ସେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ତାଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ସମ୍ପତ୍ତିକୁ ଛାଡି ଯାଉଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ସେଠି କୋପ କରିବେ ସେ କଥା ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ଦେବା ଦରକାର। ଫର୍ଦର ଇଟ୍ ରିକ୍ୱାର୍ସ efforts of civil society and non-governmental groups who can effectively take up the case of these communities and communicate or pressure government to reconsider the projects. ଏମାନେ ମଧ୍ୟ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବା ଦରକାର ତାଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଯେ ତାକୁ ରିକନସିଡର କରାଯାଉ, ଠିକ ରିଏଲିଟେସନ ଦିଆଯାଉ, ଯୋଉଠି ପରିବେଶ ଆଫେକ୍ଟ ହେଉଛି ସେଠୁ ବନ୍ଦ କରାଯାଉ। All over the world, the mega that hydro project are increasingly contributing to the global warming process. These involve massive concrete structure that disrupt the pristine nature and damage the particularly fragile ecology of the regions concerned. The concerns of the local communities need to be taken into consideration and should be adequately be compensated where there is a massive displacement. ଯୋଉଠି ଅଧିକ ପରିମାଣରେ ବିସ୍ଥାପନ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ସେଠି ଦେଖିବା ଦରକାର, ବିଚାର କରିବା ଦରକାର ଯେ ଏମାନେ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ରହିବେ, କି ସେମାନଙ୍କୁ କିଭଳି ଭାବରେ ଯୋଉ ସ୍ଥାନାନ୍ତର କରାଯିବ, ବିସ୍ଥାପିତ ନିୟମ ଅନୁସାରେ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି କି ନାହିଁ, ଏଇ ସବୁକୁ ସ୍ଥାନୀୟ ଯୋଉ ସମ୍ବେଦନକୁ ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ଦେବା ଦରକାର। ତେଣୁ non-violent struggles effectively convey a strong message to the state organizations but are often repressed by them. So this is the main point, that non-violent struggles effectively convey a strong message to the state organizations but are often repressed by it. The state needs to play a sensitivity role in order to curtail further damage to its something. It should adopt a community-oriented approach and allow the local communities to have right over their resources. No projects can be successful unless the local communities are taken into confidence and are empowered to assert their basic livelihood rights. The dam issue are not just ecological issue; they have that intricate connections to our daily life and largely determine the course of our life. They thus involve the socio-economic dimensions which, when ignored, are likely to impose unprecedented damage. The need of the hour is to evolve the effective plans. The need of the hour is evolve the effective plan to protect the fragile environment that is responsible for our systems. ଆମ ଦୃଷ୍ଟି ରହିବା ପାଇଁ ଏଗୁଡ଼ାକ ନିଶ୍ଚିତ ହେବା ଦରକାର। ଏକ ଉତ୍ତମ ଏବଂ ସୁରକ୍ଷିତ ଯୋଉ ପରିବେଶ ଆମ ପାଇଁ ନିହାତି ଆବଶ୍ୟକ। So thank you all, dear learner, for this session. So today just we discussed some environmental issues, farmers' movements, and also that prohibition and so on. Hello. 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 Sir. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Hello. Sir, have any question? ପିଲାମାନେ ଅଛନ୍ତି ନା ସବୁ
Now
ଆଉଥିଲେ?
there is no question. Students, if you have any question, if you have any doubt, you can raise. I think there is no question.
Okay. Then we'll stop our presentation.